latest on Alexander Isak's future now. Let's go to St James's Park. Keith Downey is there for us. Keith, here we go again. You, me, Alexander Isak. What's the latest?
Look, Mike, not really too much has changed since we last spoke about 5 minutes ago. No, since we last spoke, I think at the tail end of last week, as we saw, Alexander Isak was left out of the Newcastle, both the Newcastle squads that played here in St James's Park on Friday night and then Saturday in their last two friendly matches before the start of the season. And of course, Eddie Howe fielded questions on it after both of those games. His words were that he can't select Alexander Isak right now, and he would love to do that, and if he could change things or change Alexander Isak's mind, he said he would have done it yesterday. So he didn't go as far as saying Alexander Isak is refusing to train or refusing to play, but he made it clear, you know, reading between the lines, that Isak's head is probably not in the right place for him to be performing for Newcastle United at the moment, and that is why he is essentially training on his own. I don't think he's seen any of his teammates really since he returned from his self-imposed training visit over to Real Sociedad, when of course he went out there for a week on his own. The rest of the players have all been training as normal in the mornings, and Alexander Isak's been turning up round about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon to put himself through his own paces. So look, it's becoming a bit of a toxic situation, isn't it? Not what Newcastle want ahead of the new season, and Eddie Howe says he doesn't see that changing ahead of their trip to Villa Park in the season opener on Saturday lunchtime. I don't think we're going to see anything definitive to this situation until the transfer window is closed. We know Liverpool have made one bid, £110 million plus add-ons. That was flatly rejected by Newcastle, and I've been saying for a number of weeks now, Newcastle will only allow Alexander Isak to go if, one, they receive a huge offer that they can't refuse, I think anything round about £150 million, and two, they're able to get a ready-made replacement. They tried and failed for Benjamin Sesko last week. Of course, he went to Manchester United, and it feels like the options for Newcastle are now very thin on the ground. So I think as the days go on, it's becoming increasingly likely that Alexander Isak will remain a Newcastle United player this window. And of course, bridges are going to have to be mended, because the Newcastle fans are not happy with what they've seen from his conduct over the last couple of weeks. So it feels like a lot of work is going to have to be done behind the scenes to ensure that they can get together. Newcastle need him, he needs Newcastle, and move on into the start of the season.
Keith, those bridges will be bigger than the Tyne Bridge, I reckon. Let's talk Johan Wissa. Any movement on that one?
Yeah, well, look, Mike, this is becoming a bit of a saga as well. Newcastle desperate to bring him in. He's desperate to come here to Newcastle. Of course, as we know, he's not been involved with Brentford in their last couple of pre-season friendlies or really in training either. We're told that Brentford want to bring in a replacement first before allowing him to leave. Not dissimilar, really, from the Alexander Isak situation here. But again, this one has dragged on for a couple of weeks too. I think if Newcastle had their way, they would like to have him in before the match against Aston Villa on Saturday. Look, there still is a chance of that, but it's a domino effect, isn't it? Because they are waiting on Brentford bringing someone else in themselves, and of course they then need to agree a fee with Brentford. But it's been a protracted one, that one. But I still do expect him to sign for Newcastle. It's just not been quite as simple as many would have hoped.